Hello and welcome to Figments in Time, episode 6. I'm Lewis, and Val's not here with me today. Today, I want to just talk to my friends and family and anybody who cares about me and other than the content and the pictures. And that's okay. That's how we feel about most of the people we follow on the internet, right? We want to see their content. We don't necessarily think about their personal lives all that much. And I don't like to share my personal life too much, but my personal life is tangled up with a number of things. My job is kind of a public job. I post pictures on the internet of theme parks, and I have friends, and I wanted to share a little bit about what's going on. In terms of our podcast vlog, we are slowly getting back to not doing things fast enough. Every time we've started something happens. We did an episode back a couple of months ago, and we were going to eat foods at the theme park, and then we were going to tell you about it and how it came out. We came back sick from that trip, and so we were going to do it after that. So we just about get better. I go back to a conference, and I'm walking around. My leg starts hurting, and it was probably hurting before that a little bit, but it was hurting. But I'll get to that in just a minute. So the foreshadowing, if you can see well enough. But so I was walking around there. I was hurting. I came home after that conference. I was sick. I made Val sick again. Fortunately, it worked out for me. I got sick through Thanksgiving. I slept through it. She had to do all the work. And then I left and went to Disney. And then she got better-ish. She's probably going to kill me for that one, but that's okay. That's why she's not here. So I went back to Disney. I was there for 4 days, and I got sick again. But more than that, more than did I come home sick. While I was there, I was walking around and something happened. So we'll get back to that just a second, but suffice it to say, we had 3 or 4 times where we were just like knocked down sick. And so every time we try to start something, it gets complicated. So we're gonna try to get back to making episodes. We're gonna try to make them simple, so we'll actually do them and edit them. We're gonna try. I did this a couple of times. I did some lighthearted Instagram rants or marketing pieces about the bits of marketing I see on the internet, and how some of these blogs just kill me with their great content sometimes, and they're really bad clickbait titles like all the time. And I'll get to those, over time. I'm gonna get back to that. I actually found that kind of fun, doing like the mini episode kind of thing. Obviously, I'm not going to stop doing pictures on Twitter. I don't think there's sometimes you have that, should I still be on Twitter? Is anybody on Twitter? I've not lost a lot of followers, but maybe I've lost a lot of interaction. And I get people who come and then they leave as interactors. And I know that's very algorithm based. So I get it. I know I have the same thing. And there's people I really like on the internet, and then I don't see them for a while. And it's just because they don't show me those pictures anymore. They show me someone else who's being, loud and and getting attention to themselves, which is kind of the point of the internet. So I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying that's how it works. And I also have a job doing kind of an influencing thing. I run the website for simpletalk.com, which is a Redgate company, software company. And there I write, I edit other people's blogs, and I go out to conferences, and I've had to cancel a few conferences coming up. And so this is another reason why I wanted to put this out there. And I'm going to tweet it on all my accounts and just let, if anybody wants to see it, they can see it. I've already warned you, if you don't want to go into my personal life, I'll try to make the story interesting, but it's still my personal life. All right. So the last thing is I want to talk a little bit about the last Disney trip. We went to Disney. Val got to speak at a conference, which was really, really cool. She hadn't done that for quite a while. She had missed one earlier this year with COVID. So that was the first Disney trip. We came back sick, so she didn't get to go to that. So she was able to go to the conference, had a great time, did some great stuff. The week later, and so I tagged along, of course. So a week later, we went to the Mayo Clinic, and she had a bunch of tests done, some really exciting stuff. Hopefully we'll have a discussion of that one day after she goes to this class, going to like a big, long 3-week class to help her manage and get better with the post-COVID. And we're hopeful. We're not, 100% sure, but we're hopeful. So that'll come up later. So my story is a story of humor and toughness and weakness. So I already mentioned I was at the conference, I was walking around, it was hurting. I then went to Disney 2 weeks later. I was walking around, it was hurting a little bad. I was using a cane. I didn't use a scooter every day. And I was going to 4 days at Disney, and I was going to 2 days at Universal's Orlando Informer Party, which was a great experience, just like it always is. And I was walking on the last Disney day around Animal Kingdom. So hopefully the cut wasn't too bad there. I just realized in my head I've been telling the story incorrectly. So on the last day of the Disney trip, I went to Animal Kingdom. The day before, I had changed my plans and I had gone to see Hatbox Ghost. I was supposed to go to Animal Kingdom the whole day, but then they had Hatbox Ghost came out, and I was talked into it by Valerie and our friends at Dillo's Diz. They were like, everybody, they were like, you got to go see the Hatbox Ghost because it's the first day. I did. I walked over there and did that. So the next day, I go to Animal Kingdom. First thing, because I have to go to Animal Kingdom at least a little bit on this trip. I was going to stay the whole day, but I was walking. I went over to Everest. I didn't get a scooter this day. I was like, I'm going to be tough. This day, I'm going to walk. So I walked over to Expedition Everest, rode that a couple times, and I'm still having a little bit of shoulder pain. It's not quite 100%, even though it's been 9 months now. It was going to take a year. And my knee was hurting, and there's just so much you can do riding a roller coaster. It throws you around a little bit. So I get off Everest, and I walk over to Annenpoor Tea Company. I get my frozen chai latte, and I was going to get a bear claw. They did not have bear claws. I was really kind of disappointed by that. But what they did have was this big white donut. Looks like a Homer Simpson donut with the sprinkles on the top. And I know that doesn't make any difference to the story, but by golly, it was a good donut. Anyhow, so I sat there for a while. I ate my donut. I'm like, I'm going to get up and walk around. I'm going to go over to Africa. I'm going to do some things. I leave the little shop. I sat by the little Coke shop right there at the entrance of Africa. And I sat down. It's a couple of steps down. I sat down in one of the little tables on the water. I'm done. I step up. I go walking up the stairs. And the first step I take, I hear this like massive clunk. And I'm like, what was that? And I just thought it was my knee or my back shifted. When you get a certain age, which is for most of us about 30, and I'm clearly no longer 30. Things start hurting. Things clunk occasionally. I've got metal in my body. Sometimes things clunk. And what I did from there is I walked out of the park, and I took the transportation over to Epcot. And from there, I walked over. I got the bus, waited a few minutes, again on foot here. Then I went to Epcot. I walked from the front entrance to the back entrance, and I left. But I looked around. I ate something, I think, and so I walked all the way through there. Took the Skyliner over. Walked Skyliner to Skyliner. Walked over to Hollywood Studios. Got into Hollywood Studios, and I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I'm not feeling too well. I mean, that didn't mean I wasn't going to go back the next day to Universal. I did have a scooter at Universal. I already pre-planned. I wasn't feeling completely great, still from the COVID and other sicknesses, other respiratory sicknesses. I wasn't feeling perfect, so I already had a scooter, thankfully. But even with that, it was hurting a little bit. It was a little too hard to move around. Several times I used the back entrance to attractions. So instead of having to go through the queues, because their queues are very small and typically not scooter friendly, they'll take you to the back, which is kind of a bummer, right? You don't see the good stuff. Like on Spider-Man, you don't see all the screens and the rooms and things. But I did all that, and that was great. So I get home and I try to make an appointment with an orthopedist. And I can't get one in time. I also come home again with another respiratory illness. So we're basically sick for, a long time. And I'm thinking I can just tough this out. It's getting close to Christmas. I'll just tough this thing out. And I did. And then we went back to Disney, as I mentioned. And I called and tried to make appointments, but nobody had appointments in my area until the day we were leaving or later. And I'm like, I'm just going to tough it out and wait till I get back and go see my orthopedist. When you've had a hip replacement or a knee replacement, they generally want you to come back every year so they can check out the device. Okay, which is good. Very good thing, by the way, for certain reasons. But okay, so they check it out. So I do this, and I'm walking around. We're doing stuff. I go to them, and I explain my symptoms. I have them X-ray my knees when they're X-raying things, because my knees what's been hurting. The one symptom I haven't had that would have really explained it to be a knee problems is swelling. No swelling whatsoever. So I should have been suspect then. I had some pains, which felt a little bit like pains I'd had in the past. Should have been another thing I should have noticed. Like noticing that my hair is now brown on top, but thin. I don't know how that happened. It used to be white on top. I don't know. The human body's a weird thing. So anyways, I get to the doctor. I explain my problem. We're sitting there with the PA, and she looks at me and she tells the story. She gets us all calm and we're talking, and she just has this look on her face, and it's one of those sad doctor faces, right? You know that look. Something's wrong, and they don't want to tell you. It's not life threatening, so it's not that sort of thing. But she says, your hip replacement's broken. And I don't think I've ever wanted to use just really sharp, bad language, go all out on a person in my life. Because clearly it's not her fault. I did, whine a little bit about how I was going to have to suffer through this again. But yeah, it's been 9 years. So as a larger person, things like this don't last as long in me. This time is not as abnormal as the first time that it broke. That was a few years. That was just a few years after it was installed, and it kind of failed me really, really quick. Those pains I felt like the pains I'd had in the past, and in the past they were just the same kind of sharp pain. You don't really know this, but bones have a lot of feeling in there. I've always heard that giving bone marrow was painful, and I always thought, they're just floating around, right? They're not just floating around. They're very, very talkative. If you hurt your bone, it tells you very loudly. So come to find out, I have been walking miles and miles and miles on a broken hip bone. So on the image here, you can see it's not like up at the top. So when it broke at the top, I walked on it about 30 yards to get back to my car and drove myself to the hospital. No, even the doctors didn't believe it was broken. They were like, it can't be broken. That doesn't happen. It happened. But this time it's down low. So it's really like this little hair on the X-ray. But when it moves, because it's probably loose at the top, but when the bone flexes, because your bones flex, in case you didn't know that, probably should have put a bit of warning up first before I got to this stuff. But your bones do flex a little bit, which is good. That's why they don't break. If you had any engineering or physics lessons, you probably know that things that don't bend break faster. So I don't know if this one was not flexible enough or a problem with it. They're gonna take care of that. Actually, I was told that on my first hip replacement, they just threw the piece away. And after that occurred, he implemented, my doctor and their whole group implemented a chain of custody sort of thing to make sure that nobody's parts just go missing, because it was very important that they can figure out why this happened in case it was something that could harm other people. But so that's my story. That's why I'm going to be out of commission for quite a while, but at least six weeks, possibly 3 months. We'll see. We'll know that Friday afternoon. We'll have a better picture of that. But I wanted to go ahead and make this video before I did that, because I will not be quite as talkative for quite a while. But I will do my best to put up Instagram videos in my stories, maybe a couple of reels, but mostly my stories on where I'm at and what's going on. If you're interested in following along at all, and that would be at Figments in Time on Instagram/Figments in Time. So that's my story. And I just wanted to say, oh my gosh, it happened again. But I'll get through it, and I'll be back in the parks. I'm looking forward to some exciting events this year at the parks. New stuff at Dollywood. Dollywood has a new Dolly kind of area, big pink area. It's kind of crazy. Can't wait to get there in video and photograph that. And, back to Disney World. I guess I just like Disney World. I really do. It doesn't play as big a part when you have this kind of surgery, like having the broken foot. Going to Disney World was like the most accessible place I can imagine. And, you can get around. If you can stay on your scooter all the time, you can go to the restrooms are big enough. You can drive your scooter right in. I do that occasionally just to avoid having to carry my stuff in. But you can drive them in. You can drive them right into the bathroom, right into the stall. It's totally accessible place. Some of their rides, like the sides come off, like Guardians of the Galaxy. You know how you climb in the little area? They can open up that whole side. And you can slide right in. But I will not be doing that this time. I'll probably be back to walking form by the time I hit the parks. Maybe in May, if all goes well. I have plans to go to a sequel event in Atlanta in April, and then Jacksonville in May. And I was possibly going to Disney that week. Just depends. My wife also has a trip she's planning, so she may not be able to come with me, and I may not be able to do this. So I also thought about going to the Herschend theme park in Valdosta. It's a Wild Adventure, I believe it is. I've been wanting to go there. Check that out. But I think that's all I got today. And next up, I'll see you after the insanity. All right, till next time. Bye-bye.